Hello, guys. Welcome again to another episode of Life Inspirations with Rue and Raz.
Yeah, hi guys. Welcome back. We're picking up from where we left off on the 5 love languages.
Yeah, so this is part 2. So we're just going to delve into, we're going to talk about physical touch, receiving gifts, and
acts of service.
Acts of service.
Yeah.
And then we'll also talk about our most recent test results that we took now recently. Yeah. So, yeah.
So if I can kick off with acts of service. So acts of service is pretty much premised on pleasing by serving. So people that have a love language of acts of service express love by doing things, and they feel loved if you take the time and effort to actually do things for them. They see the use of intentional planning, effort and time, all of that is expended into doing an activity for them as a show of love. They see it as, if I'm truly loved, someone is actually willing to do this for me. And so if your spouse has acts of love as a love language, you just need to be very, very intentional in seeing the things that appeal to them, take time and expend effort in actually doing that thing for them, and you serve them. It's like a servant leadership type of thing where you serve someone, and that really fills their love tank. It's premised on what I would like someone to do for me if they loved me. That's how they see it, and that's how the spouse then should then show love on the other side. To say, so you look into, I don't know, their day or into the stuff that's currently that they're busy with, and look at something that you could intentionally actually see that you could relieve pressure off of them. You could assist them with a chore. You could assist them with getting something done. You could, a lot of them like to be in control of, I don't know, utilities, bills, insurance, all of those things, because to them, their act of service is, I need to make sure that my wife's car does not stop, or it's fixed in time before it affects her plans, her daily schedule. It's I need to make sure that I follow up on that insurance claim so that whatever that is currently not happening in the house. So in their natural way of things, they want to make sure that everyone is served, everyone is protected, everyone is provided for. But for them also, they also feel loved if someone then takes one of those things and do it for them, to try and appreciate them. And that's how I see it.
Yeah, I mean, like, it was, for me, acts of service was one that I really needed to understand. I needed to understand I know it was one of your big ones in the beginning, was act of service. Still is. And so it was one that I really had to learn and understand, because it was one of my low ones back then. So it was interesting because it had to put me in a position of selflessness and understand that if I do something for him, within, like I said, he explains within his day what he has scheduled, what he has to do. And if I just slot myself in there and relieve something, then I have really spoken love to him. I have spoken a love language to him. So from my perspective, it really meant stepping outside of myself and understanding that he needs me to step in and do something, in terms of, relieve his burden, like you explained. And that's how he's going to know that I'm thinking of him and that I love him. So I'm going to talk about physical touch. So physical touch is an interesting one. We're not just talking about like intimacy, sexual touch. We are talking about just, in addition to that, we are talking about the hugs, the holding hands, the
Public
just
display of affection.
PDA, yeah, the public display of affection. It's being aware of that person, that they just need just that, they need to feel connected in a physical way, to know that I am with you. Like if we're walking in the mall, like this is me. If we're walking in the mall, I have to look for your hand, because then I know that, we are together. And this used to be one of my bottom ones. And then as I grew to know myself and understand myself, I actually realized that that's one of my top ones. That's actually what fills up my my love tank. And it's very important. Like it's not just about, about the sexual part of physical, connection. It's more importantly about the connection, the physical, the touch, like in your space, We have one of our kids who's like that. One of, I guess she's an apple from this tree. So she doesn't believe in personal space at all. She needs to be in your space, and that's how she feels loved. That's how she feels like she's connected. If she's having a good day or something just rattles her, and that's how we are. Whereas someone would be maybe words of affirmation, like if something happened that made you feel some type of way, and someone their love language is words of affirmation, then you'd probably be like, don't worry, everything's going to be okay, and encourage them and just speak. Whereas someone who is physical touch is their love language, they need that hug. It means a million things for someone to just hug them or someone to just hold their hand. It means so much more than 5 words or 10 words ever would. So that's, for me, that's physical touch.
I actually like physical touch, or I've grown to like it, as a result of you. But I think it's one of the most easiest ones, and this is where intentionality comes in again. It's like what you're saying, the holding of hands. It's seeing that, I don't know, someone is reading or studying something or doing a work exercise, and they seem to be emotionally invested in it, and it's sort of depleting it's depleting physically and emotionally. It's the little squeeze on the shoulder. It's the little rub on the back. To me, it's one of the most easiest ones. If your spouse has got physical touch as a love language, it's one of the easiest ones. It's just, even when you're sitting on a couch watching a movie, in between somewhere there, find a little whatever that you can do. It does something for the people that have that as a love language, and I really think it's one of the most basic and easier ones. If you actually have a spouse that's like that. And I keep going back to the point where I'm saying it's like you're writing an exam and you know the answers.
The answers, yeah.
Because you are there, you're physically present, you can see what your partner is going through.
Yeah.
And it's like in your satchel of things, you actually look there like, what's going to work now? And then you do it. And the beauty of it is just watching them look at you and be like, oh, you've just done it for me. Or they're coming back from work and you give them those nice socking hugs and you sort of feel that emotional baggage and whatever all wear off and they spring back to life. And so I really think this is an important one, but a much more easier one to put in place.
Yeah, and I think also because it's changed for me over the years, and he talks a lot about it and he's putting it practically because with my line of work, it became more important because in my line of work, emotion is not it's an emotional line of work, but at the same time you can't express the emotion, and you can't you cannot. So you basically have a lot of emotions that you hold inside, and it becomes more important because you come home and you need to have that physical touch to feel the love, and like what you're saying, like to be able to just feel that, okay, because you go through a lot of emotions. Like I'll go through a lot of emotions, where I'll be working, and at the same time I can't express those emotions, physically or verbally. So it became very important for me to be able to connect, because it's like, in my line of work, you need to disconnect.
Yeah.
And so when you get home, it became very, very important for me to have someone who immediately, finds a way to connect with me, to keep that human side of me, to hold my hand, to give me a hug. It really just did something for me. And before, it really was not a thing for me. Physical touch was like, okay, it wasn't a thing for me, but it switched to where it was a necessity for me, for me to continue to do what I do, to continue to have my love tank filled, and to continue being a human being. It became very important for me as a love language. So that has been very interesting to see. And now I'm not so much in that environment as before. I am, but not as much. So the physical touch from being right at the top is still somewhere there, but it's not as much at the top as it used to be, because my environment has changed. My situation has changed.
So I think context is very important. Where the environment that your spouse spends their time in, it could be even a stay-at-home mom who's looking after kids, and the kids are just running around and then having to reconnect with an adult person afterwards could be as soothing as someone who is, I don't know, military, coming from war, who's facing blood and death, and they also just need to reconnect with that human being. So the physical touch is really important, but again, I'll say I think it's one of the most easiest if you're intentional about it. If you really put time and effort in understanding the context of your spouse, what they spend their day doing, what they're currently going through, the emotions that you as a partner cannot relieve them on. The best then you could do is just giving them that emotional support, and giving that emotional, or feeding that emotional need that they have through loving them through their language.
And I also think that it's also important to note the God factor, because I don't know, you can speak to it, but I feel like you have always understood the love language of physical touch, even though it may not have been like 100% your top love language, but it wasn't a foreign love language to you. It's like it was, for me, it was kind of a foreign love language until I realized that I actually needed it. So it nice. The way that God works was that when I was in a place where I actually needed this love language, you already understood it. So
speak a bit of it.
You spoke a little bit of that language. So it wasn't completely foreign to you, which was a blessing, So like times you can just read me on a day that, okay, here hugs are needed, or whatever it is, it's needed, which is absolutely amazing. And I think that's a God factor. That's just God who sometimes puts those things together and makes it a bit easy if you are genuinely seeking to be that partner, to be that husband or wife for your spouse, and you genuinely seek it, and you're like, God, help me to love this person the way that they need to be loved. Then I think God comes in and He allows you to be able to speak the language, because you're seeking to be able to speak the language to love that person in the way that they need to be loved.
No, cool. And then the last one is receiving gifts, and on gifts, it's something that you receive or hold in your hands and actually feel in your heart that this person was thinking of me, or this person remembered me, or this person is standing with me in this current place, or whatever emotion that you're going through. People that have that speak the love language of receiving of gifts, it is important for them to actually see the effort, not the value that you've put in it. And there's also a context around value.
Yeah.
So it's you genuinely and sincerely thinking about them and giving them a gift.
Yeah.
It is something that can be purchased, made, or found. So and there's also context in terms of from a value perspective, but it's not context in the sense that if a person's love language is receiving of gifts, they will accept and find pleasure in the gift more than the value of the gift. So it's not a you buying $1 million or whatever thing. It is something that is, you have traveled to somewhere and you find pearls or whatever, or bracelets or something. You buy and you give that person that gift. That feeds their love tank.
Yeah.
More than the price tag.
Price tag.
If you're crafty, you go and you create something and you give it to them. They love the idea of you thinking and remembering them, or remembering that they actually like this thing, and you've made the effort of giving it to them, or paying it for them, or making it for them. So that one is an interesting one, because there's a bit of context that comes through also, in that in the gifts that you buy. If I am $1 million from a financial standpoint, a millionaire on dollar perspective, and I keep buying you $1 gifts, there's a bit of context also that needs to come in there from a receiving of gifts. The person whose love language is receiving of gifts, they'll take it, but they'll also just realize that, okay, fine, this just looks like a flimsy thing that they're doing on the back of their mind. There actually isn't some serious thought and intentionality to it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you've got anything to add on that one.
Receiving of gifts is not one of my strong languages, so it's one that I had to also read around and learn, because it really is about that statement when people say it's the thought that counts, and if your partner's love language is receiving of gifts, you need to understand that it's not about the gift, it's about the thought. It's about them realizing that when you were somewhere, you thought about them and you remembered them and you gave them something. We're not talking about birthday gifts. I mean, it's a gift.
It's not occasional.
It's not. It's not occasional gifts.
It's not on specific occasions.
Yeah. So it's that person.
It's little everyday gifts. Yes. Little everyday things that you can.
Yeah, in the middle. That's when it actually matters more for someone that's their love languages. Wherever you were, like you're saying, you thought about me and you brought me this gift. It's a nice gift, but the thought, the fact that you are thinking about me, then communicates to me that you love me, and I feel loved, and that's that's speaking my language. So if your partners, if you take the test and your partner's love language comes atop of receiving gifts, they're not saying that buy me stuff, buy me stuff, buy me stuff. They're saying that it's the thought. Yeah. It's the thought that counts. It's about the thought that where you were thinking about me, and that makes them feel loved.
And there's a counter to it where some people say, well, it's not in me to buy gifts. So let's say you find that your partner's love language is receiving of gifts, and you're like, well, where I came from, my culture, my background, we don't believe in buying of gifts, right? What I say to you is congratulations.
Now you have the cheat sheet.
Now you've got the cheat sheet, right? Now you start learning the same way you committed to loving this person.
Yeah.
It's like building a muscle. You start off with whatever that you've seen your partner receiving and liking and loving from her friends, family, or from you when you did intentionally buy a gift, and you start working at that, and sometimes you can actually just cross-reference with the person that these are the kind of things that I like.
Yeah.
And then you start slowly but surely buying them. The beauty of it is it's just the power of repetition, right? You keep doing it, you keep doing it. That's how you end up.
Becomes natural.
It's like riding a bike. You've got to get on it. You're going to fall.
Yeah.
You're going to buy a bad gift. But usually with the people whose love language is the receiving of gifts, it's not really about the gift.
Yeah.
So you're not really buying a bad gift.
Yeah, exactly.
It's to them, wow, you thought about this. You might be allergic to it, but thank you. Yeah. So that's my take on my take and understanding on the receiving of gifts.
Yeah, and I think it's important what you pointed out that like saying that we don't do this in my culture or I didn't grow up like this is not an excuse. That's why this thing is a choice, and that's why it is intentional, because you can't just force someone to accept the love that you are trying to give them in a language that they don't understand. Like you are never gonna win. You can make all the excuses you want, but if you genuinely want to have a good marriage, you genuinely love that person and you want them to feel and to know that you love them, then you're gonna have to learn their language. If you grew up not talking about feelings, if you grew up not communicating well, you're going to have to learn if their love language is words of affirmation.
Yep.
You're going to have to learn to affirm them. Otherwise then you're not filling their love tank. It's just going to bounce back to you. It's not a vicious cycle, but it's a cycle. So it's just going to bounce back right back to you, and you are not putting any input, so you're not going to get any output. Like one of the things that I once listened to, they say basically in marriage you sow what you want to harvest. Stuff like they were talking about forgiveness. You sow forgiveness, you get forgiveness. You sow love, you'll get love. If they're saying this is their love language, then you sow that love language, and in turn you will get your love language back, and so on and so on.
But I think there's also the beauty of giving, because giving is not for the benefit of the person that you're giving. It's for you.
Yeah.
So I just love how me doing whatever love language makes you feel, but deep inside also for me, I feel good, right? Like, oh wow, I actually did that.
And it makes you feel when you see how I feel.
Yes.
When you actually love me, when you see how I feel and how happy, that makes your heart happy.
Correct.
It really does. That's my experience.
Exactly. It will get your heart smiling.
Yeah.
So I'm just going at the point where you're saying that people that would want to get out of this by making an excuse that I don't really know how to communicate. It's the same way you didn't know the skill that you do now as a living. You have had to learn for the most of us. So that's how you do it. But it's just that intentionality part where you really want to see your spouse happy. You really want to create and cultivate a marriage that's got an emotionally rich climate.
Yeah.
And watch what that does to your kids. Watch what that does to your entire family. Just the happiness that will permeate within your structure as a family is just so amazing. To not try your hand at saying affirmative words, or not trying to give gifts, or not trying to do acts of service, whatever the love language is.
And when you talk about kids, like it's so cool, because then now when you have kids, it's like we see it and we're like, oh, okay, this one's love language is this, and this one's love language is this, because now we see what it did for our marriage, and we know they're completely different. So this one,
you also have a cheat sheet for your kids.
So it's really amazing. You see your kids just blossom and thrive, because you are loving them in a way that feels them, that they feel, because with kids, they can't really express it sometimes, but you can see in how they behave that, okay, this is their love language, and I've shown them love in their love language, and you see them just light up and just blossom because that's their love language. So this thing is big. It really transforms marriages. It transforms relationships. It transforms an entire family.
Yeah.
So we definitely encourage you to take a look at it. We'll put the website link on it. We've shown you the book. You can buy it from almost anywhere. So now we're just going to talk about the test.
Yeah.
So we've taken the test about
3 times.
I think 3 times.
Yeah.
Yeah. And do you want to share your results first, or should I share mine first?
I can share mine. It's fine. So I'm bilingual. I've got 2 very dominant primary love languages, and it is acts of service and quality time.
Wasn't it the same last time?
It was.
The same.
It was. Yeah. It was. So yeah. Based on the explanations of each of the love languages that we've given, I really love serving other people. I love doing stuff for people. I love spending quality time, taking a walk, going away. I usually call these disconnecting to reconnect. You disconnect from the world, you reconnect with your partner. Those are the things that really fills my love tank. So the moments I start seeing you do those things, you intentionally look at whatever the next place we're potentially gonna go away to, or book us away for, or say let's take a walk. I remember during COVID when the lockdowns was sort of slightly reduced in severity, when we could take walks, the walk in the park and all of those things. Those really
quality time.
Quality time. It feels.
It's reset. Like we would see, like after a while, because during COVID you're not able to do a lot of things, and you could see even with the whole family that we need to go for a walk, and we just spend quality time by just going for a walk as a family, and it would like just reset us, and that's just a love language,
And picking up it, and then you see one of our kids' sort of love language is somewhere around receiving of gifts and finding. So you then find something that's really cool and whatever. I don't know, find a feather or dandelions and you pluck it out for him and you give it to, and it just, that whole thing, you guys understanding your love languages, it enriches your ecosystem, it enriches your climate within your family.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are mine.
Yeah, and then for me, so I think I've been the most up and down with my love languages.
And I've got to track.
And you have to keep track. But I think I'm slowly coming to your side. Not yet 100%, but now my strongest one is quality time. Because I think, like we were even talking about before, quality time wasn't right at the top because I really didn't have time.
Yeah.
Now my life is a bit more free, so now I actually want, because I want him to spend time with me. Whereas before I was busy. I was busy. All I needed was a hug to reset, and then let's keep it moving. But now, so quality time is big. So that's great for us. Yeah. So we both actually enjoy. We enjoy date night. We make sure we get our date night. We make sure that we go away. We love going away.
Without the kids.
Without the kids. So we really like we like quality time a lot. Like if we can just get an afternoon to just go somewhere, just the two of us, we're going for lunch or breakfast or whatever it is. So quality time has become a top love language for both of us. So I think that's really cool. And then after that, I have physical touch. Yeah, it's still there. And then acts of service is almost close. It's coming in there, whereas it never used to be a love language. But I think because now I am in a space where I do a lot of things more at home, so I could use some help. So then acts of service, whereas before I think yeah, I wasn't doing as much at home.
Yeah.
But now I am more at home, so I do more at home. So now I can use that help that he can actually give me in the house, and it actually means so much to me. Like running an errand or something like that, it means so much to me. And like I said, words of affirmation is right at the bottom. I got it too. And that used to be right at the top. But you feel that tank right up. It's overflowing. I'm still I'm still, so that's amazing how with situations and growing up. And I think some of the things have changed also because I've also done a lot of work on myself as I've been growing up and knowing myself, understanding who I am, and being comfortable in who I am. And that has also helped in some of the changes in, I think, in the love languages.
Yeah.
So you always have to be open to the fact that your love language could have changed.
Yeah.
And so it's important. Like I think we've probably done the love languages like maybe every few years.
Yeah, every 3-4 years.
Yeah.
Somewhere there.
Yeah. So you need to just keep up to do the love languages like maybe 3 to 4 years, or
as context
if there's
change,
been,
as things change, as dynamics change.
Yeah.
Your dominant ones kind of stay somewhere there. But as you also change, and as you're mentioning, as you grow, some of the things that we like to be filled with is stuff that we didn't grow up with.
Yeah.
So a lot of your background and your context, where you came from, is also very important. But it's like a muscle. Once you have built enough of that muscle, you just need to do just little bits to maintain it. But yeah, I think it's very important to do this test every now and again. 3-4 years, there's it will help you. If you can get your hands on this book, it really puts all of these love languages quite well. He does a good work of giving examples of couples that were some were really on the marriage is cold side, and brings them back together bit by bit, back to where they are. They're having really a great marriage. And it also comes with the questions that you have to do at the back. So you can always redo it at every time.
Yeah.
And reread the book at every time. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's better to get the book if you can, because then you have the test all the time. It's at the back of the book, and you can always take it and retake it.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think it's a must.
It is.
This love languages thing, it is a must.
Yeah.
So, I mean, once you do it, feel free to comment or send us messages and let us know how, if you've taken the test and if you've started applying the love languages and how that has changed your marriage and your relationships. I mean, that would be cool for us to just get some feedback on what you think, or finding out that, you thought you knew what love languages are, and you thought you knew what your love language was.
Or
and after you take the test, or your spouse's love language, and after you take the test and you find out that actually,
speaking Chinese to a French person.
Feel free to get back to us and give us some feedback on this topic, because it's such an amazing topic that will just change everything.
Yeah, definitely.
So I think that's all that we have to share on this episode. Thank you guys.
Thank you guys.
Until next time.